Uh, See, philosophy, as I said, it molds our thinking in a particular way. I mean, as do every discipline, right? And disciplines can also be understood as ways of understanding. And philosophy helps you understand certain things by asking certain kinds of questions, which can be typically called foundational questions, right? Uh, for example, I mean, how will philosophy help an economist? Is by asking questions about when economists study the economy, what is it that they are studying, for example, right? I mean, that's a very central question in philosophy of economics of any other discipline, really. The philosophy of science really asks this question about various sciences. So it helps you develop the skill or competence to ask certain kinds of questions. That is, of course, one. Apart from that, at the center of philosophy are two very, I would say, important skills that I think is at the heart of any kind of liberal education, which is number one, it helps you to think critically in some sense. When I say think critically, it helps people reflect on their own thinking, the kinds of reasoning that they involve in, to be little better with their reflective thinkers. Of course, we have a foundation course called critical thinking, where we are taught basics of logic and reasoning, but philosophy as a discipline is very self-reflective, right? And people who are trained in philosophy are taking a philosophy course also are trained to be self-reflective, really pay attention to the kind of reasoning that they do, right? Which eventually also helps them understand the kind of fundamental assumptions that they have in any kind of view that they have. Second, and an equally important skill, is the skill of analytical writing, right? Because, and this goes hand in hand with thinking, because I mean, it's not right to think of writing and thinking as two different things. Often, it's only when we write, when we are forced to write, when we are forced to organize ideas in a particular way, that we really think rigorously, right? So every philosophy course or here or anywhere else would be quite writing intensive, right? And writing is something that not a lot of us are often trained in schools. I mean, we of course know to write, but to write an essay, to organize ideas in paragraphs in an analytical way, right? And that can really transform one's thinking. And I've seen students also with time appreciate that quite a bit, right? So these two very important general skills, which I think whichever domain you go to are going to be very valuable. That competence of critical thinking and analytical or expository writing. I think these are two things which I think any liberal education is at the foundation of any liberal education. And I think philosophy as a discipline is also sort of these two skills and competence are at the heart of the discipline as well.